For those that don't know, Subway has, in the past, boasted that there are nearly 2 million, or over 37 million, different sandwiches that you can make using their various choose-your-own style ingredients. Let's do a little math and put that to the test. The overall formula is going to look something like this, which is sandwiches equals breads times cheeses times proteins times add-ons times vegetables times condiments. For this calculation, I will primarily be using a photo someone took of the Subway calorie menu posted in a Salt Lake City Subway circa 2022. As of the writing of this script and the recording of this video, the Subway website was down, so I could not check any official sources from this year. I will also be assuming that this is a magical Subway that serves every possible menu item from the available at participating locations section of their menu. Alright, bread. Subway offers 3 primary breads, 2 participating locations breads, a flatbread, a wrap, and a biscuit or English muffin. The artisan Italian and hearty multigrain come in mini, 6-inch, and foot-long sizes. The Italian herbs and cheese, jalapeno cheddar, sourdough, and artisan flatbread come in 6-inch and foot-long sizes, and the wrap and biscuit are just the one size. That's 16 different versions of bread you could pick for your sandwich, except most of those can also be toasted or not toasted. Everything except the flatbread and the wrap, actually. I am unsure about the biscuit/English muffin, but I will assume that it can be, which brings our B value to 29. Cheese. Subway offers 7 types of cheese. American, shredded Monterey cheddar, provolone, pepper jack, fresh mozzarella, shredded mozzarella, and Swiss. So our CH value is 8. 7 types of cheese, plus 1 for the cheeseless sandwiches. Now, protein. This one is tough. I wanted to just do the possible single meat, make your own sandwiches, but I couldn't think of any reason why the restaurant wouldn't let you pick more than one protein. Plus, this menu lists values for both the pre-made sandwich meats and the individual meats you could choose from. So I'm just going to consider this a complete list of possible options and move on. Their pre-made sandwiches include the All-American Club, the Bella Mozza, the Cold Cut Combo, the Italian BMT, the Spicy Italian, the Supreme Meats, and the Subway Club. That's 7. There's also these available meats: Angus roast beef, Black Forest ham, grilled chicken, meatballs, oven roasted turkey, rotisserie style chicken, salami, steak, sweet onion teriyaki chicken strips, and tuna. That brings us to 17. Finally, these are their participating locations proteins: roasted chicken patty, egg white patty, pastrami, and veggie patty. That makes 22, plus 1 for the proteinless sandwiches for a p-value of 23. Add-ons are extra meats you can put on any sandwich and are not mutually exclusive. There are 3 add-ons: bacon, capicola, and pepperoni. So our A value is 8. Basically, we're doing binary math here. Since each choice is either yes or no, there are 8 ways all 3 of those values can be expressed, from 000, all no's, to 111, all yeses. Put another way, there are 2 to the n possible options for any future non-exclusive topping choice, where n is the number of possible choices. Here, that comes to n to the 3rd, which is 8. Vegetables will be about the same as add-ons, just with way more possible choices. Subway's list of veggies, as they call them, includes banana peppers, cucumbers, green peppers, jalapeno peppers, lettuce, onions, pickles, black olives, spinach, tomatoes, and smashed avocado, with some locations having fresh sliced avocado, sweet peppers, and green chilies. That's 14 different veggies, each with a binary choice, so our V value is 2 to the 14th, or 16,384. Last in sandwich construction is condiments. Subway offers these sauces: Baja Chipotle, Frank's Red Hot, honey mustard, mayo, Parmesan vinaigrette, oil, peppercorn ranch, sweet onion teriyaki, red wine vinegar, roasted garlic aioli, and yellow mustard, plus a creamy sriracha at some locations. That's 12 so far. As for more solid condiments, they have Parmesan, salt, and pepper everywhere, plus Chardonnay, hot pepper relish, and oregano at some locations, for a total of 18 possible condiments. This brings our C value to 2 to the 18th, or 262,144. Before we plug these into some big old calculator, I wanted to confirm some of these things by using Grubhub to mess around with my local Subway's menu. And while some of the options are a little different, I think the overall numbers are pretty solid, so I am happy with that. However, I did notice 3 new options that are going to change our P and CH values. It seems that you can now add double protein or 50% more protein for most kinds of sandwich. I cannot seem to alter the protein quantity on the veggie patty or any of the breakfast sandwiches, so it seems that of our 22 original proteins, 19 of them can be sold at 100%, 150%, or 200%. This means that our new p-value is 61. Very similarly, there is also an extra cheese option, so our 7 cheeses becomes 14 cheese levels plus no cheese for a new CH value of 15. Nearly there. Now we just do 29 times 15 times 61 times 8 times 16,384 times 262,144 for a total of 911,735,657,594,880 unique sandwich combinations at Subway. For some perspective, Subway runs an estimated 37,000 restaurants around the world. If each one took an equal share of these sandwiches, they would all have to make well over 24 billion sandwiches. Even if each shop could make 1 sandwich per second, it would still take them 780 years to make every single sandwich on this admittedly ridiculous list. I mean, come on. Who's going to order a toasted 6-inch jalapeno cheddar no meat Swiss cheese lettuce oregano ranch sriracha oil and mustard sandwich? The way we've done our calculation, there are technically 29 sandwiches here that are just the bread. Not to mention the 2,146 different sandwiches that are each only a single ingredient. Well, that was fun. Thanks for that wonderful question. This question comes from Drakeon. What was the first patent? Oh, that is a fantastic question. I feel like I learned this in school long ago, but I have totally forgotten. Let us find out. Okay, actually, having done some research, there are 2 distinct eras when talking about patents. In the time before the modern era, patents worked just a little differently than they do now. I won't go into detail on exactly what makes them different, but they did function in basically the same way. Someone invented something, and the government allowed them a temporary monopoly on that thing. In ancient Greece, these were doled out to anyone who discovered any new refinement in luxury. England and Venice both also had systems like this in the 13 and 1400s. The modern concept of publishing a description of a patent for all to see, while still protecting the original inventor for a time, didn't come about until 1555. rest of the world was issuing patents in what we would call the modern way. Unfortunately, this means that what qualifies as the first patent gets a little hard to define. Historians believe the first modern patent was issued in Florence in 1421 to Filippo Brunelleschi for Il Barellone, a specialized boat for moving heavy loads up the Arno River. England's first patent was issued in 1449 to John of Utnam for a process of making stained glass. James Buckle's patent on the machine gun in 1718 was the first to need specifications. North America's first issued patent was issued by the colony of Massachusetts in 1641 to Samuel Winslow for a new method of making potash salt. The United States' first patent was issued to Samuel Hopkins in 1790 for a new method of making potash. Thanks for that intriguing question. I'm sorry I couldn't find more on the matter. This final question comes from Felix Ronald Titus. Where did we come up with all the names for the different types of kitchen tools? That is an interesting question. I expect many of them will be quite literal. Teaspoons for making or drinking tea, bread knife for cutting bread, but I'll see if I can't find any good ones. Let's start with the scoop. Scoop, as in an ice cream scoop, derives from an old High German word meaning to shape. This makes sense as traditionally we use scoops either to portion out dry ingredients into the quantities we need them, or to form smaller portions of a larger whole, like scooping cookie dough, melon balls, or ice cream. The butcher's knife, or chef's knife, known as a cleaver, gets its name from the verb to cleave. Cleave comes to us all the way from ancient Greece, from a base verb meaning to carve, which makes sense. The tool you use to carve meat off a bone would share that name. This word passed through Latin, Old Norse, Old English, and Middle English to become cleaver. Eventually, the A was added to help with separating its pronunciation from the word clever. The mezzaluna is a special, curved-bladed knife used for cutting, dicing, or mincing basically anything. Mezzaluna literally translates into half-moon or crescent in Italian, and it's easy to see why it has that name. If any of you, dear listeners, are fans of the anime Food Wars, you may have already heard this explanation. One of the chefs on that show is known for using a mezzaluna and explains its significance to our main character in one episode. Tongs get their name from an old Greek word meaning to bite. I imagine this is because of the very, very simplified mouth shape that they make in silhouette. So, using them replicates the action of biting whatever you are tonging. Chopsticks may come from the pidgin language formed from Chinese and English. Its exact origin is unknown. Some believe it to stem from the phrase chop chop, meaning quickly, but I can find no other context for this. Others believe it to stem from the word chow, meaning food. Thus, chopsticks would literally mean food sticks. Colander, the large perforated bowl used for straining pasta, derives its name from the Latin word colum, which means sieve. So I guess all colanders are also sieves. Grater, like cheese grater, comes from a word meaning to scratch. So I guess the device is scratching the outside edge of whatever you're grating to make smaller pieces. Spatula derives from the Latin word for a flat piece of wood or splint. It is a diminutive form of the Latin word spatha, meaning broadsword. Whisk appears to derive from an Old Norse term meaning to plait or plait. Plaiting means to braid or interweave, which is what a whisk is doing in the mixing process, so it makes sense that we would have named it thus. Cauldron was borrowed from Norman, itself representing the Latin for caldarium or cauldrius, meaning hot bath or simply hot. Kettle, in its original meaning, was replaced with cauldron when the word first arrived in English. Kettle was borrowed from utensils on this list come from ancient times. The English names mortar and pestle come from Latin mortarium, meaning a receptacle for pounding, and pistillum, meaning pounder. So these tools are the pounder and the receptacle for that pounder. Okay, wow. A lot of those ended up being nearly literal translations of a verb or noun. I hope you enjoyed that list. Thank you again to Jared Drakeon and Felix Ronald Titus. If you would like to have your question answered in a video, leave it in a comment below this one. If you would prefer to ask your question a little more privately, you can email me your question at questionsandasmr@gmail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more questions like these every week. Thanks again for listening. Goodbye for now.